The days after the massive warship retreated were filled with rebuilding and preparation. Riverside Station had survived the most powerful attack it had ever faced, but the damage was clear. Buildings were scarred, patrol ships needed repairs, and fields had been disrupted by the storms. Commander Daniel walked through the colony, observing the workers repairing and restoring what they could. There was no fear in their eyes now, only determination. People moved quickly but carefully, helping each other without complaint. The sense of unity was stronger than ever. Mira joined him, carrying a tablet full of sensor readings. "The Zerath fleet is still in orbit," she said, "but none of their ships are descending. They're cautious after the last attack." Daniel nodded. "Good. They're testing us, trying to see what we'll do next, but we know we can defend ourselves." Inside the command center, Helena and the engineers worked to improve defenses even further. Shields were repaired and reinforced, and new patrol routines were planned. Every miner, engineer, and farmer had a role in keeping the colony safe. Thomas leaned against a work table, wiping sweat from his face. "We've never been this prepared before. If they come back, we'll be ready." Lewis, the young engineer, looked at the newly upgraded ships. "And if they try the same trick again, they won't succeed." Daniel walked over, his expression calm but serious. "They will test us again. The Zerath never give up easily. But they have learned one thing. Humans do not retreat. That knowledge is worth more than any weapon." The days passed. Supply lines were reopened through the temporary corridor they had created during the blockade mission. Food and energy arrived from other colonies, strengthening Riverside Station even more. People worked together, building stronger homes, repairing ships, and studying the rare mineral to enhance their defenses further. One morning, Daniel called the council together. "We have survived, and we have strengthened. But we must stay alert. The Zerath may return, but we now have proof that we can face them and succeed." Mira added, "They will respect us more now. They know that attacking a human colony is not simple. We can use that knowledge to protect other settlements too." As the sun set, painting the sky with orange and pink hues, the people of Riverside Station gathered in the central square. Children played near the fountains, miners spoke to engineers about future plans, and families worked together on small projects. The air was filled with hope. Daniel stood on the observation deck with Mira. Together they looked at the sky, where the remaining Zerath ships orbited silently. "Do you think they'll try again?" Mira asked. Daniel shook his head, slowly. "They might. But now, they know humanity is not afraid. They know we will fight, and we will survive. That is a message no fleet can ignore." Below, the colony's lights twinkled like stars on the ground. The people had learned how to work together, how to use the planet itself to their advantage, and how courage could turn fear into strength. One evening, scouts reported movement in the distance. A small group of Zerath ships had returned, but they did not approach aggressively. They stayed at the edge of the colony's radar range, observing. Velron, aboard his flagship, watched the humans carefully. "They have survived our strongest ship," he said. "They have shown resourcefulness and courage. We will withdraw for now, but they must be watched. Humanity may prove more dangerous than we imagined." Back on Riverside Station, Daniel gathered the council. "They are still out there," he said, "but they are no longer a direct threat. We have survived. We have learned. We have grown stronger. And we will continue to grow stronger every day." The council nodded. Helena smiled. "It feels good to see people working together without fear. We've earned this peace, at least for now." Weeks passed. The colony flourished. Patrol ships flew regularly, keeping watch over the skies. Mines produced rare minerals that strengthened defenses. Families celebrated small victories, and children learned about the courage it took to stand firm. Daniel and Mira walked through the colony one evening, looking at the people. "They've grown," Mira said. "They are no longer just settlers. They are defenders of this world." Daniel nodded. "Yes. And they have shown the universe what humanity can do when it refuses to retreat." Above, the stars shone brightly. The Zerath ships had retreated further, their power respected, but not feared. Humanity had proven its strength, and Riverside Station stood as a symbol of courage, unity, and determination. The humans had faced impossible odds, and they had not surrendered. The war was not over, but the message was clear. Humanity does not retreat. Humanity stands strong. The colony celebrated quietly that night. Children laughed, adults worked together, and the stars above seemed brighter than ever. For Riverside Station and for all of humanity, hope had returned, stronger than before. The trading station called Veritas Point floated quietly at the edge of known space. For years, it had been a safe meeting place for merchants, explorers, and diplomats from many alien worlds. Bright market halls were filled with voices speaking, dozens of languages. Ships of all shapes came and went every day. No one thought danger would come here. That peace ended one calm morning. The warning sirens echoed through the station. Long-range scanners showed dark shapes moving in from deep space. They were not traders. They were not friendly visitors. They were warships, fast, heavy, and armed with weapons strong enough to burn whole colonies. The station's control room filled with panic. Counselor Ryal, a tall, blue-skinned leader of the council, stared at the screens. "It is them," he whispered. His voice trembled. The Core fleet. The Core were feared in every corner of the sector. Their fleet was small, but unmatched in raw power. Stories told of entire systems surrendering after facing only one Core ship. Now, 12 of their ships were heading for Veritas Point. Inside the council chamber, the alien leaders gathered. Some wanted to evacuate. Others wanted to send a surrender message before the Core arrived. "We cannot fight them," said Elder Viri, her eyes downcast. "We have no army. We have no ships to stand against them." But one voice in the chamber was calm. It came from a man sitting quietly at the far end of the table, a human in a dark Navy uniform. His name was Captain Daniel Hale, commander of the Earth Fleet's flagship Valor. "Running will only make them chase you," Daniel said, his voice steady. "Surrender will not save you either. They will take your station and still treat you as a threat." Raal looked at him. "And what do you suggest, human? You have one fleet. We have heard you are skilled fighters, but one fleet cannot stop them." Daniel's mouth curved slightly, not in arrogance, but in certainty. "We will hold them here." The room fell silent. Some thought he was being foolish. Others thought he did not understand the Core, but there was something in his tone that made even the doubters pause. Within hours, the Valor and its 20 escort ships moved into position between the station and the incoming enemy. The human fleet was smaller and lighter than the Core armada. From the station, the alien leaders watched the humans prepare. Their formation was strange, not the tight defensive lines most fleets used. Human ships drifted apart, almost looking disorganized. Raal stood beside Elder Viri at the observation deck. "They do not even form a shield wall," Viri muttered. "Do they not know the Core's strength?" "They know," Raal said softly, though he was not sure why he believed. It out in space, Daniel stood on the bridge of the Valor, eyes on the glowing tactical map. "Let them come close," he told his crew. "They'll expect us to stand still. We won't." The first Core ship appeared on the edge of visual range, a black spear of metal and fire. 11 more followed in a wide formation. The enemy commander sent a short message to the human flagship. "Leave now or be destroyed." Daniel did not answer. The Core moved closer, their weapons charging. Then, at a silent signal from Daniel, the human fleet burst into motion. Ships split into smaller groups, each moving at different angles. They darted in and out of the core formation, striking fast, then vanishing before the enemy could lock. Weapons. It was a dance of speed and precision. From the station, the alien council stared in disbelief. "They are not fighting like any fleet we have seen," Ral said. "They are not fighting," Viri replied. "They are hunting." In less than an hour, 3 core ships were disabled. 2 more turned to retreat. The rest kept fighting, but the human fleet's strange maneuvers kept them off balance. The Valor itself delivered the final blow, a concentrated strike on the enemy flagship that forced the core to withdraw. When the last core ship fled into deep space, the humans did not cheer loudly. They simply returned to their positions, watching in case the enemy came back. On the station, the council gathered again. "One fleet," Elder Viri shook her head. "One fleet did this." Daniel stepped into the chamber, calm as before. "That was just a warm-up," he said. "They will return, and we will be ready." The alien leaders looked at him with new eyes. They had feared the core more than anything in the galaxy. Now they began to wonder if there was something even more powerful, human determination. The core fleet had retreated, but no one on Veritas Point believed the danger was over. The station's halls were quieter than usual. Merchants stayed close to their ships. Families whispered in corners. Everyone waited for the core to return in. The council chamber, the alien leaders spoke in low voices. Some wanted to move the station to another sector. Others argued they should call for help from nearby powers. But when Captain Daniel Hale entered the room, the discussion stopped. "They will return soon," Daniel said plainly. "And they will bring more ships. We cannot let them gather their strength." Ral frowned. "You mean to go after them?" "Yes," Daniel replied. "If we strike now, we can keep them from attacking again for some time. If we wait, they will choose the time and place." The alien leaders exchanged uncertain glances. Elder Viri asked, "And what if you fail?" Daniel's answer was simple. "Then we fail while standing, not while running." The council gave no official approval, but Daniel was not seeking permission. Within hours, the human fleet left Veritas Point and set a course for the core staging area. The alien leaders watched from the station, unsure if they would ever see the humans again. The Valor led the fleet through silent space. On the bridge, the crew worked with calm focus. Daniel studied the tactical display, noting the enemy positions. The core ships were spread out, guarding a supply convoy. They were not expecting an attack. "This is our chance," Daniel said to his officers. "We hit fast, break their formation, and keep moving." The human fleet entered the system without, announcing their presence. The first move came from the escort ships, sleek destroyers that darted forward and launched precise strikes at the core patrol craft. Before the enemy could react, 2 patrol ships were gone. The core answered with heavy fire. Bright streams of energy lit up the blackness of space. The Valor shifted position, avoiding direct hits and returning fire in sharp bursts. Daniel's orders were quick and exact. "Group 3, flank from above. Group 2, cut their supply line. Do not let them regroup." From a nearby moon, an alien trading vessel recorded the battle. Later, this recording would be shown across the sector. Viewers would see how the human ships moved like a living network, each one protecting the others, covering weak spots and striking at the right moment. The core flagship tried to rally its fleet, but the humans had already taken control of the fight. Small human frigates zipped between the larger enemy ships, releasing bursts of concentrated energy that disabled engines and weapons. The Valor engaged the core flagship directly, targeting its shields until they collapsed. Inside the core command, bridge. Alarms rang. Their commander had expected the humans to hold a defensive line, not to attack with such speed. The core ships began to pull back, not in retreat yet, but no longer pressing forward. Daniel saw the shift. "They're losing momentum," he said. "Push now." The human fleet surged forward. Another core ship fell silent, its systems fried by an electromagnetic strike. The remaining ships fired wildly, but their shots hit nothing but empty space. One by one, the core broke formation and jumped away. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the humans held the system. The core supply convoy was gone, and their staging area lay in ruins. Daniel stood at the center of the Valor's bridge, scanning the battlefield. "Report casualties," he ordered. The answer came back. Light damage, no ships lost. The fleet turned back toward Veritas Point. Messages from the station began to pour in before they even arrived. The alien leaders had watched the battle through the recording from the trading vessel. The sight of a single human fleet defeating the core so completely had already begun to spread. When the Valor docked at the station, Daniel was called to the council chamber again. This time, the mood was different. Raal greeted him with a firm nod. "Captain Hale, your fleet has done what none of us thought possible. The core have been pushed back for now." "They will be back," Daniel replied. "And next time, they will come in greater numbers." Elder Viri leaned forward. "You spoke before as if you had more fleets hidden somewhere. Was that truth or a story to calm us?" Daniel smiled faintly. "It is truth. Earth never fights alone." The alien leaders exchanged glances. Some were relieved. Others were still, unsure what that meant. But one thought echoed in every mind. The core had been feared for generations, yet humans had just beaten them twice in a row. In the markets and halls of Veritas Point, whispers turned into confident talk. Traders spoke of human bravery. Children played games pretending to be captains of human ships. The shadow of fear was not gone, but it had grown smaller. And somewhere far from the station, in the cold darkness between stars, the core were already planning their revenge. The battle reports spread faster than light. Stations, colonies, and ships across the sector spoke of how one human fleet had defeated the feared core twice. Most called it luck. Some called it skill. But a few older voices whispered something else, warnings from long ago. On Veritas Point, the Alien Council met again. The chamber was dim, the air heavy with thought. Counselor Raal spoke first. "The core will return with more ships. We must prepare." Elder Viri nodded. "I agree. But I want to understand who we have asked to protect us. This human fleet is not what I expected." They turned to archivist Mela, keeper of the station's oldest records. She was a thin, gray-skinned woman who rarely spoke in meetings. Today, she brought a metal case to the table. Inside were small, crystalline data rods, each glowing faintly. "These," she said, "are messages from civilizations that no longer exist. They were sent before their fall. Most are unreadable now, but a few remain." She placed one rod into the reader. A voice filled the room, distorted by time. It spoke in a language that the translator slowly shaped into common speech. "Beware the humans. If they fight for you, you will live. If they fight against you, you will not." The council sat in silence. Raal leaned forward. "This is from when?" Mela replied. "Over 3,000 years ago. The sender's world is dust now." Elder Viri frowned. "So they were warning others about human power even then. But why did these records survive when so much else was lost?" "No one knows," Mela said softly. "Perhaps because they were meant to." Meanwhile, aboard the Valor, Captain Daniel studied the latest scout reports. The core had withdrawn to a deep space fortress, a massive structure bristling with weapons. It was too far for a quick strike, but close enough that they could reach Veritas Point in days if they moved at full speed. Lieutenant Mara, his navigation officer, approached. "Captain, the Council keeps asking if more fleets are coming. Should we tell them the truth?" Daniel looked out the viewport at the stars. Not yet. If they believe they have only us, they'll prepare harder. If they think 10 more fleets are on the way, they might wait and do nothing. We cannot afford that. Later that day, Daniel was invited to speak before the council. Raal welcomed him with respect, but the questions began quickly. Elder Viri asked, "Captain Hale, the archivist showed us ancient warnings about your kind. They say humans never stop once they are at war. Is that true?" Daniel's voice was calm. "We fight to end the fight. If that means we must keep going until the threat is gone, then yes, it is true." Raal's eyes narrowed slightly. "And if that threat is us?" Daniel met his gaze. "Then you would have to earn that place as our enemy. So far, you have not." The room was quiet after that. Some council members looked uneasy. Others seemed reassured. That evening, in the quiet halls of the station's archive, Mela studied another crystal rod. The voice within spoke of a war. No one remembered where human fleets had appeared without warning and ended the conflict in days. The alien recording voice described the humans with awe and fear. They arrive like a tide, and when the tide goes out, only their allies remain standing. Outside the station, in the cold black, the Valor drifted silently. Its crew worked as if time was short. Supplies were restocked, weapon systems were checked and rechecked. In the mess hall, the younger crew joked quietly, but their eyes showed they knew another fight was coming. And far away, in the core fortress, a different council met. The corps commander slammed his armored hand on the table. "One human fleet humiliated us twice. This cannot stand." His second-in-command replied, "Then we will bring enough force to crush them in a single blow." Back on Veritas Point, Raal stared at the night sky through the observation deck's clear wall. The stars seemed peaceful, but he knew the peace was fragile. Somewhere out there, a storm was gathering. And Daniel Hale, standing on the Valor's bridge, was already planning how to meet it. For 3 days, Veritas Point lived under the shadow of an oncoming storm. The core invasion fleet was moving through deep space like a dark wave. Scouts reported hundreds of ships, more than the alien council had believed possible. Every corridor in the station carried the same whispers. "We cannot survive this." The council met in the main chamber. Councillor Raal looked tired. "Our defenses are too weak. Even with the human fleet, we cannot stand against so many." Elder Viri's voice was low. "If we surrender, perhaps the Corps will spare the station." Daniel Hale stood at the end of the long table, silent until now. "If you surrender," he said firmly, "they will take your worlds and your freedom. They will leave you alive, but you will no longer choose your own path." Raal sighed. "Then what do you suggest, Captain?" "One fleet cannot stand against an armada." Daniel's answer was calm. "One fleet will not stand alone." The alien leaders exchanged puzzled looks. Viri frowned. "What do you mean?" Daniel only said, "Watch the skies." Then he turned and left the chamber. Outside the station, the Valor held position. The crew had been running quiet operations, maintaining low energy signatures to avoid early detection. But now, the ship's long-range sensors began to pick up something unusual. A distortion in hyperspace. Lieutenant Mara smiled as the readings confirmed what she suspected. "They're here. In the observation lounge of Veritas Point, the alien leaders and hundreds of citizens gathered by the wide, transparent wall. At first, there was only the blackness of space. Then the darkness rippled. Lines of light stretched, bent, and burst, open as hyperspace gates formed. The first human fleet emerged. Massive cruisers, carriers, and escorts in tight formation. Their hulls gleamed with the markings of Earth and its allied colonies. But the sight did not end there. Another fleet followed, then another, and another. Gasps spread through the crowd. Fleet after fleet arrived, each one different in design and armament but carrying the same emblem, a silver star with the blue circle of Earth at its heart. By the time the last formation took position, 10 full fleets filled the skies around Veritas Point. The alien council stood frozen. Ral whispered, 10 fleets. This is impossible. Elder Viri's hands trembled slightly. If one fleet could defeat the core twice, what will 10 do? Daniel's voice came over the station's comm system. To any enemy who hears this, Earth does not fight alone. We stand together, and we protect our friends. The arrival of the Armada transformed the station's mood. Fear faded into something else, hope, strong and bright. Alien crews began preparing their own ships to assist. Traders volunteered their vessels for supply duty. Engineers worked without rest to improve the station's shields. From the Bridge of the Valor, Daniel coordinated the newcomers. Fleet commanders from each group checked in one by one, confirming readiness. These were veterans of different wars, each bringing their own strategies and strengths. Mara turned to Daniel. The Corps will see this and either attack in rage or flee. Daniel shook his head. They will attack, but they will not win. Far across the sector, the Corps Armada received the first images of the human formation. Their commander's voice was sharp. So Earth has sent more ships. Then we will crush them all in one strike. Prepare the fleet for full assault. Back on Veritas Point, night came, though the stars outside shone brighter than ever with the glow of human engines. Families gathered by windows, watching the silent walls of ships that now shielded their home. Children pointed at the different designs, sleek corvettes, heavy carriers, long-range artillery ships, and whispered about the battles to come. In the council chamber, Raal looked at Daniel with a new kind of respect. You knew this would happen. You called them days ago. Daniel nodded. When I first arrived here, I sent a coded signal to Earth. It was not just for help. It was for full commitment. Elder Viri asked, why commit so much to defend a station that is not your own? Daniel met her gaze. Because humanity believes in something simple. When we say we will stand with someone, we stand until the end. Outside, the human fleets adjusted their positions, forming a defensive sphere around Veritas Point. Thousands of weapons were powered, targeting systems locked on the deep space direction where the core would appear. The storm was still coming. But now, when it broke, it would find more than one lone fleet waiting. It would find 10 horizons of steel, fire, and will, an armada ready to defend not only a station, but the idea that no ally of Earth stands alone. The core armada appeared at the edge of the system like a shadow stretching across the stars. Hundreds of black warships moved in precise formation, each one bristling with weapons and shields. Even the bravest aliens on Veritas Point held their breath as the enemy came closer. Captain Daniel Hale stood on the Bridge of the Valor, watching the approaching fleet. 10 human fleets surrounded the station now, their ships forming a protective sphere. Engines glowed faintly, ready for instant movement. Every captain knew their role. Every crew knew the plan. Maintain formation, Daniel ordered. Engage only when we are ready. The Corps commander's voice echoed through long-range communication. Humans, your courage will not save you. Surrender or die. Daniel did not answer. The first shots came from the Corps flagship, long-range energy beams cutting through the blackness of space. Human sensors detected every shot. The fleet split into coordinated patterns, dodging the fire with swift maneuvers. Small frigates darted between the core ships, releasing targeted strikes that disabled weapons and engines without harming the hulls completely. Alien observers watched in amazement. They move as one, said Raal, but they are not one ship. Each acts independently, yet follows the same plan. Lieutenant Mara on the Valor smiled. This is why humans fight. Strategy, speed, and trust in each other. Daniel nodded. We fight together, or we do not fight at all. The core fleet attempted to surround the human forces, sending squadrons to flank from multiple directions. Each move was countered. Human destroyers blocked attack routes, while frigates attacked weak points. Carriers launched fighter squadrons that moved like swarms, distracting the enemy and breaking their rhythm. On Veritas Point, the Council watched through the observation deck. "It is beautiful," Viri said quietly. "They are not just defending. They are controlling the battle." The first core ship exploded in a controlled strike by human forces. Energy beams struck its engines, causing a chain reaction in the nearby vessels. Another core ship disabled its weapons in panic and tried to flee. The tide was shifting. Daniel ordered the next phase. "Focus on the flagship. Groups 1 and 4 engage directly. Groups 2 and 3 cut off reinforcements." The core flagship fired furiously, but the humans used precise timing and unexpected angles. The Valor led the attack, striking at the enemy shields with concentrated energy pulses. Smaller human ships moved around the flagship, preventing the core from escaping. The battle raged across the system. Space was filled with the streaks of energy beams, small explosions, and the roar of engines. Despite the chaos, the human fleets moved like a living network, each ship reacting to every change instantly. From the core bridge, panic spread. "They anticipate every move," shouted the commander. "We cannot hit them. They are stronger than we believed." Meanwhile, Daniel coordinated every fleet. "Keep pressure on them. Never let them reorganize. Protect the station at all costs." One by one, core ships fell silent, their engines disabled or their weapons destroyed. The remaining fleet attempted a retreat, but human ships blocked escape routes. Finally, the flagship itself was immobilized, surrounded on all sides. Daniel watched as the enemy commander tried to send a surrender message. He allowed it. "You have fought well," Daniel said, "but you cannot win here." The core ships retreated into deep space, broken and defeated. 10 human fleets remained, each ship intact or with only minor damage. The station and nearby worlds were safe. On Veritas Point, the Council erupted in relief. Citizens cheered and clapped, though many had tears in their eyes. "They did it," Raal whispered. "They actually did it." Elder Viri approached Daniel on the observation deck. "I do not understand. How did 10 fleets fight so perfectly together? Your coordination, your strategy, it is beyond anything." "We have known." Daniel looked at her calmly. "We train, we trust, and we act as one. No one fights alone when Earth stands with them." The human crews began repairing minor damage, resupplying, and checking systems. Children ran to watch, the ships moving through space, their faces shining with excitement. Traders discussed new opportunities, now protected by a power they had never imagined. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. "The Corps will think twice before returning, and if they do, we will be ready again." The battle was over. The storm had passed. Humanity had proven once again why their fleets were feared across the galaxy. Not for the size of their ships, but for their courage, unity, and determination. The stars above Veritas Point were calm once more. The core armada had retreated, broken, and defeated, and the 10 human fleets remained in orbit, a silent wall of strength. The alien council gathered in the main chamber, this time not in fear, but in awe. Councilor Raal stood before the assembled leaders. "We owe our worlds to these humans," he said. "Without them, the core would have destroyed us." Elder Viri nodded, her hands folded calmly. They did not come for conquest. They did not demand tribute. They came because we were in danger, and Earth stands by its word. Daniel Hale entered the chamber. His uniform was streaked with light dust from long hours on the bridge, but his eyes were steady. "You do not need to thank us," he said. "We do not fight for praise. We fight for what is right." Mela, the archivist, approached carefully. "Captain, we have looked into our records and found warnings about humans from lost civilizations. Now we understand them in a new way. You are not just fighters. You are protectors, and your word is stronger than weapons." Daniel smiled, faintly. History may remember humans in many ways, but those who live with us, those we protect, see the truth. We keep our promises. The Council had prepared a formal proposal, a treaty that would form an alliance between Earth and the worlds of this sector. It promised mutual protection, shared knowledge, and cooperation in trade and science. Raal gestured toward Daniel. "Captain, Hale, we ask you to witness this treaty, not as a guest, but as a sign of trust between our peoples." Daniel stepped forward. "It is an honor. But remember, it is not just about trust. It is about standing together when danger comes. That is how humans live. And that is how we will protect your worlds in the future." The treaty was signed with ceremonial light, a display of unity that lit the chamber with warmth. Citizens cheered outside, their voices carried across the station. Children waved small flags of Earth, and merchants promised trade routes that had never existed before. Outside, the 10 human fleets moved in coordinated patterns, making their presence visible to all nearby systems. Their formations were not aggressive. They were a promise, a statement that humanity's power was not for conquest, but for protection. Raal turned to Daniel. "Will you stay?" he asked. "Your fleets could move on, and we would be safe for now. But this peace will not last forever." Daniel looked at the stars beyond the station. "We will stay as long as we are needed. And if the Corps return, we will be here. Not alone, but with all who stand for freedom and safety." Elder Viri spoke next. "Your arrival has changed our understanding. One fleet made us tremble because it meant more could follow. Now we see the strength of humanity is not only in ships or weapons, but in unity, courage, and honor." In the following days, ambassadors from Earth and the human fleets began talks with the Alien Council. Plans for training, shared technology, and joint exploration were discussed. The citizens of Veritas Point watched as the humans worked side by side with their alien allies, teaching tactics, improving defenses, and preparing for any future threat. Daniel often walked among the station's people, speaking with traders, students, and engineers. He never demanded attention or praise. He simply encouraged them to work together and to have courage. His presence reminded everyone that humanity was more than ships and firepower. One evening, Raal and Viri stood at the observation deck, watching the fleets adjust their positions in orbit. "They are different," Viri said softly. "Not like other civilizations we have known. They are humans," Raal replied. "And that is exactly why we survived." Children played nearby, pretending to command small ships, imagining themselves as part of the great fleet. Traders discussed new routes that would connect their worlds to Earth and other human colonies. Scientists worked with Earth engineers to study the advanced technologies of the fleets. Daniel watched from the Valor's bridge, looking out at the peaceful scene. The battle had been won, but the true victory was deeper. It was the beginning of trust, cooperation, and a new understanding. Between humans and aliens, the Corps would return one day. Perhaps they would be stronger. But the story of the 10 fleets and the courage of one human fleet would remain as a warning. No enemy would underestimate humanity, and no ally would stand alone. As the stars turned slowly above Veritas Point, the station and its people felt safer than they had in centuries. 10 horizons of human fleets had arrived, not for conquest, but for friendship and protection. And in that moment, the galaxy understood that Earth's promise was real. The alliance was formed. The peace was fragile, but now it was built on strength. courage, and trust. Humanity had shown the galaxy that when Earth stands with someone, no enemy can break that bond. And so, Veritas Point looked to the stars with hope, knowing that no matter what came next, they would never face the universe alone again.